Hello, everyone. I just want to discuss our last major assignment, which is the aspect of literary studies essay. So, this is the largest essay we have for this course. It's going to be 8 to 10 full pages, excluding works cited page and so forth. So, the format, of course, is always the same and everything. The due date is Friday, May 1st by 11:59 p.m. So this essay is based on the conference style paper given by literary scholars. So this is what normally people would write up before they, would publish. They would take their ideas to conferences and so forth, and then kind of exchange their ideas, present their ideas, and so forth. So the topic is mostly open, so long as it discusses at least one aspect of literary studies, and then one work from the readings in this course. While you can approach the essay in numerous ways, I just kind of outlined a few ideas for you in terms of just general approaches to kind of a conference style essay. So, one could be to apply a theoretical lens, right? Anyone discussed in this course or others that you know of from other courses, in order to interpret a text in a new way. So, let's say, for example, the racer, you're like, hey, let me apply queer theory to that, right? Because no one else has, right? That would be a good way of kind of introducing a theoretical lens to a work that hasn't been done before. You could also add to the critical debate concerning a work's interpretation, maybe arguing why your interpretation is more accurate than past or current critical interpretations. You could discuss proper pedagogical techniques, very important too for future teachers, right? Any level of education, of course, elementary ed, secondary, higher ed, whatever, and discuss how to approach the teaching of literature or English too, because that's an aspect, of course, literature as well. Argue how literature classes should be structured, what pieces of literature should be taught, what is the purpose for literature classes, or other issues in teaching literature in English, right? You could evaluate what pieces of literature should be considered canonical, right, or canon, what works of literature should be studied, which ones should be ignored or removed from critical debates, for example. This is a crucial discussion, especially with Me Too movement, right? Should we teach authors who have been guilty and found guilty or even been accused by multiple women of, you know, sexual misconduct? What do we do with that? How do we function? So that is an important debate. You could, of course, be very traditional in terms of explication, right? You can analyze the significance, relevance, meaning of a character. You could analyze the significance, relevance, and meaning of a text theme, right? So you could do more kind of explication if you're interested in that. Let's say you're not a fan of theory, we still do these. We still do those kind of explications. You could apply, of course, comparative literature approach that's super popular. Interdisciplinary studies is, again, a crucial kind of aspect in modern academic settings. So show how a work has influenced 21st century media, right? Show how there's connections between TV shows or films or graphic novels or video games, whatever kind of comparative kind of pieces of contemporary literature you could make a connection with, or even any other art form for that matter. Of course, explication too of just a passage, right? So if there's just a small passage that has just dense meaning, you could really work with that. So you could focus on a selection from the text in which you thoroughly analyze why this passage is crucial to the construction of the work's major theme or its significance. You could also, and this is something we haven't really done too much in this class because I'm just not interested in it, but biocriticism is very popular. So you could discuss how an author's life inspired the creation of the work, right? Frame the construction of setting, characters, and themes, and so forth. Especially if you're interested in Mansfield or the in camera and all that, that would be a good way to kind of get to know an author's life more, but also see how their lives influence their creations. And then, of course, historical, criticism is always important too. You could research historical reception, investigate how critical reception and reader appreciation of a text has changed over time, then determine the meaning of those changes. That's very common, especially with Shakespeare and all that, since Shakespeare has been up and down throughout history in terms of a good writer, bad writer, good writer, and so forth. You can focus on two texts, but two texts maximum. If again, even though it's 8 pages, you still want to have a more singular focus. So you don't want to go too much. So two texts, and I don't mean critical texts. I mean primary sources. Focus on basically two primary sources. If you have kind of or excuse me, if you plan to analyze shorter works, still focus only on two. Right? Typical conference papers have kind of a singular focus, as I said, so make sure, again, you have a specific guiding framework, right, if you examine more than one text. Now, you need to include research to support your interpretation concerning a piece of literature for this course. You must find at least 5 scholarly peer-reviewed sources for this assignment. That's, again, a crucial demonstration of your research skills for the WD component. Depending on how you are using theory or analyzing pedagogical practices, you may need to establish precedent. So again, figure out how many sources you really need, but again, 5 minimum. You can use any previous sources you found, especially for your synthesis and annotated bibliography assignments. So feel free to use those sources as well and build on them, but again, frame it in terms of an essay that fits these parameters. The grading scale is mostly similar to the character analysis and theme analysis, 5 points for title, 10 points thesis, focus, all that stuff, topic, sentence, argumentation, structure, order, all that, format and everything. But, again, essentially, you want to sustain analysis for 8 pages. And so figure out, and these are just some of the ideas, and typical ways we build these kind of conference style papers. Think of other ideas too, completely acceptable. But I try to give you a good range of what typically people do when they write a kind of conference style paper. I give you an example too, about someone who was investigating teaching drama. So, again, there's a lot of good, couple things that this author could improve upon. But again, I figured out, as always, I want to give you just a good example to kind of work with and see what I'm expecting and how I'm grading for this assignment as well. Obviously, if you have questions, always email, put them in the forum. If not, just best of luck to you finishing up the semester, and take care.